This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 6 of the Healthy Critters Radio on the Horse Radio Network.
Healthy Critters Radio is brought to you by BiostarUS. You can find them online at BiostarUS.com.
This is Tigger Montague.
And this is Patty Perucci.
Hi, Patty P.
Hi, Tiggy-rella.
We have quite a show tonight.
We do have quite a show because I want to find out what natural means. That's what I want to know. I can't wait. I honestly, seriously can't wait.
And I can't wait to hear about saddle fitting with Marty.
I know. I can't wait for that either. I think we're going to I hope he does just as well as Beth does. I don't want to put that pressure on him, but indeed I will tell him that.
That's so nice of you.
Thank you.
Because saddle fitting is such an art.
Oh, and I think, yeah, it truly is. You know, it's interesting if you think about years ago, and they all rode in one saddle for all of the horses.
I know.
And it's fascinating. But I do think it is amazing to watch the progression of how horses move today versus what they moved before. I mean, except for Klemke. But, you know what I mean? Anyway, it's quite an art, and Marty's one of the best.
Yes, he is.
So, and I also can't wait to hear about ice compression boots.
Christian is one of the most fun, interesting guys. He's German. He's a vet, and
I didn't know that.
And he's full of charm, as you might imagine. But his knowledge of, treating muscles with cold and compression therapy. It's so interesting, this product that he's representing that's from actually Australia.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear more about it, and I can't wait to see it. I cannot wait to see it like with my own eyes.
I know, which you will see next week.
I know, yeah. I'm excited about that. I'm excited because I think, and especially being in Houston, this type of a thing is big, and there's such a market for that, down here. So,
and one of the challenges that I think that I used to face when I was riding, and that riders and trainers face now, is getting ice cold enough.
Yeah.
And the ice boots are really great to use because they're convenient.
Right.
But I remember Tim Obert telling me there's nothing better than ice.
Yep.
It's better than a gel.
Yeah.
It's and one thing I like about this compression sock is that you can use a gel pack if you're going to a show and you need to just pack something easy and you don't have an ice machine, but the ice works. That's really the best kind of cold therapy you can use.
No, it's true. And I'm excited to hear about it. Excited to see it. I am, and we've got a great breed.
Yes, we do. I can't wait to hear about Border Terriers. Because
I have learned some pretty cool things that I did not know.
The only thing I know about Border Terriers is knowing Gavin, your dog.
The Giblet. Gavin's known worldwide, and it's not it's not all good. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Gavin's one of the best dogs I've had, but he I'm not sure he is typical of the breed. There's some things that I learned that I knew, and some other things that I didn't know. So it was kind of cool. We got to talk to Hedwig as well. And
we talked to Hedwig, who is down in Wellington.
Yeah, good.
So hopefully she's our dog on the street report.
Hopefully she's not going to be cranky because it's not cold. It's not cold anymore, right?
It's going to be cold this weekend.
Okay. Very good. I'm excited. So let's get going.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Let me introduce you to our listeners. This is Marty Haste from The Horse, of course, and he's one of the best known and most highly respected saddle fitters in the country for dressage horses. So with that introduction, Marty, let's start with what are some of the key important aspects of saddle fitting? So when you come to a barn and you're looking at a horse and a saddle, what are the key things that you look at?
Well, I think to start with, it would be you'd want to put the saddle on the horse, and you'd want it to find a place. So, in other words, you're putting the saddle on the horse, and it kind of will like sit down on the horse, and it'll go like clunk, and it'll just be there. And so that would be the first thing. And then after that, then you have to try to girth it. And once you girth it, if it's staying the same way, that would be great. And then the next thing would be to actually ride it and then look at the sweat patterns and see if it's actually as good as it looks.
Okay, I have a question. I'm raising my hand. Okay.
Okay.
Ooh.
Sure.
Okay, so Marty, number one thing I get asked all the time, you talk about sweat patterns. So if you see a dry patch and there's like, say, if it's tight around, if there's around the withers on either side of the withers is dry, but everywhere else it's wet, what does that mean?
There's too much pressure in the front.
Okay.
Where that is, and so that actually it won't let the sweat glands have so much pressure that they actually can't sweat.
Okay.
Wow.
So in a case like this, so in a case like that, so say if somebody has something like that and they're riding in a saddle that they like a lot, and they have a filler pad or a fluffy pad or whatever, would you try removing that pad, or would you just say saddle's too tight?
Well, here's the thing with that, and so this is something to remember with the fluffy pads and the other pads. There's a couple of problems with them. Actually, when you put them on, even if there's no shims or anything in them, and they're just straight, when you put them on, they always lift the front a little bit more than the back. And so that's number one. And then the other thing is that you really have to watch out for certain horses have really wide and protruding like spines, and like if you put your hand on it, they're like 3 inches wide or something, And when you put a fluffy pad on, sometimes it goes on either side of the spine, and the saddle goes in between it, so you get side-to-side pressure instead of just, a down pressure. And you get the side-to-side, kind of like pinches it side-to-side.
Okay,
so that's another thing you have to watch out for.
Okay.
And that could, not sure if that would actually, it might show up as a dry spot,
Okay.
But that'll, yeah.
Because is that sort of like, that's always the biggest question I get when I have my clients saying, okay, I want you to look at the saddle. And obviously, Marty, you have trained me a lot and, about how it should fit and having clearance over the withers and stuff like that, and standing behind and seeing how they're fitting the horse. And obviously, and you and I have spent tons of time watching my riders go, and we talk about how the saddle fits, which, by the way, is not what I have ever experienced with anybody else that saddle fits. And I know, Tigger, you would agree with me.
Yeah.
But what do you feel is the number one, do you have a number one thing that people come to you with? Like, what's the number one complaint or question or concern, or, what do people want to know?
Well, I don't know that they do. They just basically, pretty much what happens is if they're having a problem with the horse or something, I'm just one of those people that is on their list to take care of it. So they basically get out the saddle guide and they say, hey, is there any possibility that this could be a problem? And so
right.
Then you just go through the thing and you figure out whether or not it could be or whatever. And plus, you can maybe get the saddle a little bit better for a little bit more freedom for the horse, and so the horse may be able to go a little bit better.
Right. So, so if you have a horse that, and this is going to be a difficult question to answer, but just give it a whirl. If you have a horse that you're seeing dry patterns on, when you take the saddle off the horse, and I know that you look at it upside down and you look to see the shape of the horse in your mind's eye, and then you look at what the saddle looks like. Do you then start taking the flocking out? Do you move the flocking around? Does flocking get bad? I mean, how do you deal with that?
Well, the flocking does actually get extremely hard. Will get packed down and it'll get hard over time. The only thing that I have to say about that is years ago, well, actually in Europe, the people don't feel like they're getting their money's worth unless the flocking is completely filled and hard as a rock. So they won't buy a saddle if it's soft, which is really a weird thing, but it's pretty much true. It's coming away from that a little bit now, but for years it was like that. And so they would want to actually like mold the thing into the horse's back. Now the American market, they're not having that at all. They just want soft, soft, soft. And so that's not going to be the way it's going to be over here. But so that could do it. And then basically what you have on that is you just basically, what will happen on that most times is the back of the saddle will be on. So what's going to happen will be off. And so what you're going to wind up having is the front of the saddle is basically, it's just pushing all the pressure on the front of the saddle, and the rest of the saddle is not really on the horse. A lot of times that could be a billeting issue more than anything else. So
it could be a what? A building issue?
A billeting.
Billeting.
Billet.
Billeting. Yes, a billeting issue. So a lot of times you could even cross the billets and see what happens.
Right.
I have to watch what I'm saying because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. But I mean, even loosening the front billet sometimes would actually help that a bit. I'm not suggesting that, but I'm just saying that.
That's all right. Tigger will. That's cool. Tigger, why don't you just suggest that? Go ahead.
There you go.
Loosen the front billet.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's always that. And so, like when you build it, that's what I started to say in the beginning. Is like when you actually, if the saddle sits on the horse's back really nice, but then as soon as you tighten the billets, if the back comes up or something like that, you're pretty much going to get dry spots in it. So that's something you're going to need to address straight away. I mean, there's no way that you're going to be able to billet the saddle and the back is going to pop up an inch or something, and it just can't be right. So you have all sorts of problems with that, and so that's the kind of thing that people need to be looking at on their saddles and stuff. So a lot of times you can get away with it with shims and stuff like that. The problem with the shims and things is that you don't really they don't really spread out that much. So you have not exactly pinpoint pressure, but again, the pressure isn't relieved exactly correct. So what you wind up with is if you put the shims in the front, they'll bridge between the front and the back, and so then you have a spot in the middle of the saddle where it's not touching the horse. So that's where you have a real problem, So that's I mean, it's a good solution if you can't get any help and you're having a problem with it. Then it might be something that would work for a while.
Right. So,
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
All right.
I have one too, Marty. You can decide which one's better. Tigger, please go.
I'll do both.
But I want to know which is a better question. Go ahead, Tigger, please.
So, Marty, we know that you represent the Sommer saddle in the U.S.
Right.
And you've worked with a lot of different saddles. What makes Sommer different from all the others? It's a really high quality, and they actually been quite good. They have they lean towards more comfort for the horse, and it basically it has a unique paneling system, so that the panel system is actually it puts a lot of panel on the horse's back, and so basically horses tend to like them.
So more contact is better of the surface of the saddle than less. Okay.
Yeah. And so So some of the saddles are more people orientated, and they have like where your legs go and stuff could be cut out, and so it puts less and less paddle on the horse's back, and so so that's the problem, you know. So it's
yeah.
And the flexible tree is huge. Don't you think that you can buy a 4-year-old horse and have the same saddle all the way up to Grand Prix?
Which I've done, by the way, on 2 horses with the Soma.
Yeah, that's right.
Just
and
saying.
So, it's. I think it's a good thing for them because actually, you want the saddle to stay with the horse all the time, and so if it can actually move a little bit, it's actually much better for the horse because they change. That's maybe the last thing in the fitting is actually a really interesting point, because if you got through all your steps and everything seems to be good, the other problem is actually when the horse goes. So a lot of times horses will carry themselves way different when they're going than when they're standing standing still. So that's the other part that but that takes I think it's not luck. I mean, if you have a really good saddle or something, you need to be able to see the person go and see what happens with the horse. But it's just, and then you can actually, if you can make the adjustments for it. But that would be, that could be something that a lot of times people don't even get because they're saying, oh my God, the saddle's perfect. And then when you go to ride it, it just changes everything completely.
Yeah. Yeah. So which comes to my question, which, by the way, Tigger, your question was quite good.
Thank you.
It was a good question. How often do you recommend people have their saddles looked at?
Excellent question.
Thank you, Tigger.
Well, that's a really that is a really interesting question, and people ask me that, and I ask people that myself. I have a friend that his dad owns one of the big English saddle companies, and I keep asking him, "Are you taking over the company yet, or whatever?" And so, no, still fitting saddles. So, tell me, is there anything you learned? Right? He goes, "Well, no. In 6 months, you got to do it every time, no matter what you do." And I was like, "Oh my God, thanks." Anyway, so what happens is, it can be anything at all. I mean, they like with stallions and stuff, if the stallions breed a lot, or certain times of the year, they lose weight, they gain weight, whatever. And so really, that's the thing that you have to deal with, and it also, as the horses get older, their bodies change because they basically, just would. And so I would think that, I don't know, at least once a year for sure. And it all depends on how much high performance you're doing. If you're doing really high performance, it would change a lot more,
Because I've always leaned towards, per our discussions, Marty, is I try to do it every 6 months if I can. Just because even if you just sit it on if you just sit it on the horse and go, yep, groovy, we're good. Because a lot of times, I mean, I have so many times seen, get a saddle fitted, the horse starts to go super well because he's not being stuck or blocked or whatever. And then you're 4 months down the road and you're like, crap, I need to do this again. And so I think you just have to keep listening to your horse, right? You just have to keep paying attention and listening.
Yeah. And again, when you take the saddle off, to look and see what kind of sweat pattern you have, and just basically, if you feel like it's not going well, then look at the sweat pattern and say, oh my God, it's like all here or all there or whatever, and then try to make any kind of, if you can do it, or get somebody in to do it, right away. And so it's just basically, and I've tried everything with the from the computerized pads and everything, but unfortunately, those things will tell you more about how the rider's sitting than they will about the actual saddle thing.
That's interesting.
So So I haven't there. I don't know that there's really, like I said, it's just the old-fashioned sweat pattern thing is probably the best, you know.
Well, cool.
But a
That's
few
good.
things
That's
that,
good. That's so good to know, because I don't think people understand sweat patterns enough.
Yeah.
And you did such a great
exactly.
job at explaining that, because, I mean, just today I took a saddle off a horse that I was feeling so confident was fitting well, and right on the other side of the withers, it was too dry. And I thought, I think I'll ask that tonight in a question. And I did.
There you go.
And a lot
but
of times
let me
horses'
throw, oh,
attitudes,
sorry.
you
yeah.
know, when you get a saddle that really fits them correctly, their attitudes change. And what felt like a resistant horse is no longer resistant.
Yeah.
Or a horse that is tight in the back suddenly is no longer tight in the back. Because I think as riders, we tend to go for a saddle that feels good to us.
That makes
Right.
sense.
Whatever kind of rider we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah,
But
but I think
ultimately,
right.
we've really got to look for a saddle that works for our
for the
horse.
horse. Yeah. Which,
I
so
agree.
I have one last thing. I would
Yeah.
like to ask a question. Your feel about this, Marty. Just in my recent training, I have experienced having a horse that that came to me with some kissing spine, and someone had asked me, "Do you believe that kissing spine can come from bad saddle fit?" Because then, of course, if it's bad saddle fit, the horse isn't going forward, not being able to lift his shoulders, lift his back, go forward to the bit. I mean, in essence, sure. I mean, that could make a horse invert his back and not use his spine properly. What do you think about that?
That's exactly it. And so what happens is, if you have prolonged pressure in certain areas, the muscles get damaged, and then the muscles can't carry the back that well, and so then the next thing you know, they you get in too much of a dip. You just basically have a dip. So when they hollow their back, it's possible that they could get kissing spine from that.
Sure. So I'm right.
So that's the whole thing. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Thank you, Tigger. I just would like to point out to the group that I had an excellent question and I was right. I'm done. See you guys later. No.
Where's the Bronx
So,
cheer?
but I want to add one more thing to when you're looking at the sweat patterns and stuff. And a lot of people actually look at the saddle pad, and so sometimes you can kind of look at that. And so, but I have to tell you that the darker marks on the saddle pad, like the normally would be towards the back, what that does is it basically is almost working like a billows, because if the saddle's moving a little bit, and when it goes, like when it comes up or whatever, it's sucking in dirt, and so it's got sweat and dirt going. So that's why you get all these black things on your saddle pad. Where it's like a dirt mark or whatever, because it's kind of like a billows kind of effect,
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so that means that actually, it may not have that much pressure, but a lot of times if you look at the saddle pad, you dream that it's something that it's not, because the saddles aren't really that big, and basically if you put it on the saddle pad, you realize, oh my God, that's not even near the saddle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just wherever it is under the saddle, you know what I mean? It's not an inch or two away. It has nothing to do with it,
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I got to, Marty, we had a little bet going whether you could do as well as Beth, because Beth knocked it out of the park.
She did, but so did you.
I don't know, Marty. I'm saying it's nose and nose, and I don't know.
Well, I hate to tell you this, but I figured it out today, and I kind of figured it out, but my God, I might be on 15,000 saddles that I've actually adjusted.
Oh my gosh!
Whoa!
Isn't that crazy? I know, because I average like 2 or 3 a day, and I've been doing it for, oh my God, like crazy amounts of time. Isn't that amazing?
Wow. Yeah, no, that is that's amazing. Actually, I think the word stifle is wow.
Yeah, and here's the problem though, guys. I'm still a practicing saddler. Oh my God, practicing, yes.
But see, Marty, that's what makes you so great.
Yep.
That's what makes you so great.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know it, and that's the fun of it. It's just a challenge, and because every day it's just like a different challenge, and And one other thing that's really, really funny, and sometimes you just get these like little insights and stuff. So I was freezing my ass off in Boston like 2 weeks ago, and one of the people there was a shoer, and so he was like or whatever. Anyway, so we were talking, and he said, the only difference between me and you is you can take that stuff in. You can put it in, take it out, and do it a million times till you get it right. He goes, problem is, I can only cut the shoe once. That's the problem. He said, then I have to wait 4 weeks to have it done again. So I think that that's another thing that's really an interesting thought about that. You can actually play with these things. They're basically changeable, which is actually really good.
Well, that's cool.
So that would be,
That's cool. Well, Marty, this was pretty good. And I think that you need to tell your wife she got some competition, okay? So we may have to bring the both of you on at some point and do the battle of the hastes, okay?
There you
what
go.
do you think?
Perfect,
Awesome.
guys.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I would love that. And we'll party while they're here.
I think it's awesome.
Marty, thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Patty.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, Tigger.
Hedwig.
Hi, Hedwig.
Patty.
How are you?
Oh my gosh, so much has happened since we last spoke.
What a busy pup you are.
Well, she's
You have
down
no
in
idea.
Wellington. Can you tell us a little bit what's going on in Wellington?
Well, let me tell you. First of all, we got tiny kittens that live in our tack room in a box. Tiny kittens. They're like puppies, only not as cute.
Do you like
kittens? And yes, because they're funky little monkeys, and they climb up their cage and then they jump on each other's heads. So I like to watch them all day. Yep, they're like TV, only better.
Okay.
So what's going on in Wellington from a Pomeranian's point of view?
There are a lot of horses, Tigger, so that part's pretty much the same. And the staff is overly interested in the horses. So that's pretty boring. And there's one horse that's called Snouter, and it's called Snouter because it snouts my head and goes in my fur. And that's a little disturbing, to be honest. And there's another one that is confusingly called Omelet, although I have tried to eat it, and it is not an omelet. So, I mean, to be frank, I think the servant might be losing her mind, but it's good to pretend that it's all okay.
Well, good. That's a good dog. That's that sounds like you're being very good. What is your fashion while in Wellington? What are you wearing?
Well, I always just wear my same martingale collar because I'm a little bit clever at getting out of stuff. So I just have my collar and it has my name written on it, Hedwig, and my servant's phone number in case ever we are separated.
Okay. I'm sure that's a good fashion.
Well, of course.
Because you're Hedwig, and I'm sure it's adorable.
Now
I do rock my look.
Yes, you do.
I'm sure you do.
Now, I'm going to admit to our listening audience that I am not servant material for Hedwig.
What'd you do, Tig?
I refuse to feed her on a schedule.
Oh, and Hedwig didn't like it.
The good news is you're only taking care of us for a very short time.
Duly noted. Oh, boy.
We would starve on your watch.
On Tigger's schedule?
Schedule?
I am so sorry.
Are we using the word schedule loosely?
It sounds like it. Do tell, girl. Do tell.
we eat our breakfast in the morning,
Right.
right away that we get up, which is right around 4:45, and then we like to have our dinner at 5,
Oh.
and in between our snacks.
And Tigger didn't know that?
Apparently, she's a little bit thinking she's free to just feed us whenever. Because
Tigger, you
she
write
has
this down?
thumbs and can go to the refrigerator and get food whenever she's hungry, but I am a 9-pound dog and I can't do that, Tigger.
Tigger, you're listening, correct?
It's duly noted, Hetty.
Okay.
Duly noted.
Perhaps when our servant is away, you could buck up the scheduling a little bit.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to feeding 2 Poms, 2 Australian Shepherds, and a rescue terrier.
Yeah, it sounds like a
My
good day.
friend Jody.
So, Hedwig, do you have any final thoughts before this is the start of the season? Are you looking forward to going to the horse shows, to the dressage shows?
No.
Oh,
What would make me want to go to a dressage show? Some strange need to suffer? No, thank you. What I would prefer to do is stay home, or watch the kittens. Those things are fun. I don't really enjoy horse shows per se because they're boring and the servant is distracted. Oh, and I was at Devon, and as a reminder, it rained and was freaking freezing for 4 days. So we basically drowned. Our grandmother actually bought us raincoats that are stored in a little container that says Devon Emergency Kit.
Oh, okay.
well, you may need them for Wellington because it's been a wet season so far.
I
Has it been
know.
wet?
My
Oh.
feet have been wet.
Poor little Hetty. Well, maybe I'm coming down next week, and maybe I'll buy you some rain boots.
Thank you so much, Patty. You are so thoughtful.
Thank you. I've been told that before.
Really?
Well, good. All right, I'll get you some rain boots. Let's hope for not rain in Wellington, and hopefully you'll have a great season and get fed on time.
I am amazing, so that should be no problem.
Okay, Hetty, thanks. We'll
Bye,
talk to you at
guys.
the next show.
Bye, Hedwig.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, competing for Best in Show.
So tonight, the breed of the show, it's Border Terrier. And I have one of the most unique Border Terriers, I think, that is out there. His name is Gavin, or Gavy Doodle, as he was named early on in his life. And I wanted to get a Border Terrier because I love Jack Russells, but sometimes they can be too intense. And they're supposed to be sort of more low key terrier. And so it was interesting, Tigger, I was telling you earlier, I learned some stuff about Border Terriers that I kind of knew, but I didn't know. And so kind of cool. They got their name because they were bred on the borders of England and Scotland. So I'm sure that's not a big surprise to anybody. But the purpose was to bolt foxes.
I thought they would run across the border, sort of like spies.
Yeah, like with little spy suits on and spy glasses. Can you imagine
James Bond?
Yeah, can you imagine Gavin with his little mouth sticking out? Anyway, but the purpose was to bolt foxes from the ground and kill rodents. So they same sort of, earth dog, vermin, whatever. Interesting. Their coat is very harsh, somewhat like the wire version of the Jack Russell, which we talked about last time. Same thing. They live about 12 to 14 years, coarse coat. And this has always been my thing with Gavin is, you're supposed to strip the coat to keep it wiry. I, of course, didn't do that because the one thing that I realized when researching it is they're extraordinarily sensitive. And I mean, I knew Gavin was, but I thought Gavin was special, and apparently it is very much a breed thing. So that was kind of an eye opener to me. And what they mean is that they don't do well with. I mean, if they're out and they're hunting, they're fine. There's not going to be a lot pulling them off of what they want to do. But in a house, they don't like loud noises. Absolutely would agree with that. You can't be too sharp or harsh on them because they take it very personally. So I think that's what makes them a little bit of an easier home dog than your typical Jack Russell. So this is the thing that okay, one other sideline. They were bred to keep up with horses. Absolutely. Gavin has gone on many trail rides with me in Virginia and kept up the whole way. He's awesome that way. He's really a fantastic barn dog, and he always sticks around, and was fairly easy to train, and he's he's really quite obedient
He
to
has
my
a
training.
funny bite, though.
Well, he does. He has the malocclusion of his jaw, which is not typical of the breed.
Okay.
At all. He really isn't. He actually, a brother of his and a friend and client of mine had bought as well, was from the same litter and was like one of the most perfect ones I've ever seen. Gavin was perfect in personality. There's certain people, Kelly Farmer's now taking a fake gun and shooting her head saying that, but Gavin has always been a little yappy. Which I don't think is as typical as the breed. He's a little off that the path of what I read. But
Do you
this
think
is
that has anything to do with his bite?
him being yappy. He just wants to show he's got the whitest teeth because they're always being seen in the sun. I don't know how to answer that, Tigger. That is not a question I know. But they actually, and this will explain a little bit too, the ancestry that shares ancestry with the Dante Diamant and the Bedlington Terrier.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so one of the things one of the characteristics of the dog is an otter-like head, a wider, broader head, which is why I like the breed, because I liked the fatter kind of head. So here's the interesting thing I read, and of course I called Gavin to try this out. They have very loose skin. Okay, so that they can get in and out of holes, because they, like a Jack Russell, they get to the earth, they get down to the ground, they go in holes, and a lot of them will get stuck. Well, what it said in this one thing is like literally you can pick up the skin on their back quite high. Okay, it's that loose.
Wow.
And I did it to Gavin, and it's a true story. And the thing is that what it does is it helps them get through tight holes so they can move around. Blew my mind away. That dog's 10 years old? I never knew. So I'm picking his skin up and he's just sitting there going, yeah, this is cool. It's really interesting, right? I thought that was so interesting.
That is. And now, what other breeds have loose skin like that?
Basset hounds. A lot of earth dogs do have, I'm certain Jack Russells are certain to that. But, in the research I did on the Jack Russell verse, and I keep referring to the Jack Russell because it was just sort of a good comparison dog for me. I'm sure the Jack has it, but like literally the next time you see Gavin, I will pick up the skin. You're going to go, wow, didn't know. I'm talking 4 or 5 inches, Tig.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, do the Cairns or the Norfolks?
That's a good question. That could be one of the dogs you do next. I don't know, but in all the research I've ever done on dogs, that is not something I had ever heard of or thought of. The minute I read it and then did it with him, it was like, wow. Just imagine them getting in a tight hole and their skin moving and then being able to get out. Right? It makes sense, right? So anyway, I found that fascinating. The dog's been around. The breed itself has been around since like 1920. It was AKC recognized in 1930. They are sort of known proudly as sort of being a mutt-ish looking dog. They come in a bunch of different colors, but they're all basically sort of a grizzle or brown, or Belge is one of them called. There's a black and tan. But they are really, really great characters. And if it's somebody who wants a terrier type breed, this would be a dog that I would recommend more than any other terrier, because they literally will sit on your lap. If you're sitting down, they'll sit on you. And that is very characteristic of the breed. Wherever I am, Gavin goes. And they're very, very smart. One of the favorite stories we have about Gavin is that anybody who knows me knows I go to bed very early, and Gavin will head up. And I don't know if it's something he senses or whatever. He knows when I'm about 15 minutes out. And he heads up and he goes and waits for me in bed. And I didn't really recognize this until I had like people live with me for the summer, and they're like, there goes Gavin. And like, I was like, what are you talking about? And sure enough, I mean, Gavin just heads up to bed 15 minutes before I get there. So they're very interactive with their people. They love the family. They get along with other animals. He gets along great with cats. It's just a dog that I would highly recommend, because I think that if you want something that can be in the barn and be hardy, can deal with harsh weather, whether it's too hot or too cold or whatever, it's just a great dog. And a great sideline about Gavin, he's a fantastic swimmer. And I don't know if you remember.
Really?
Oh, he's a fantastic swimmer. The house I had in Wellington, the whole backyard was just a pool. Okay. It was just, it was a 0 lot line house. So the whole backyard was just this pool. And so, Ray was very young. He was about 4 years old, and he used to love getting in the pool and walking around. He was probably a little older than 4. He was probably closer to 6 actually. And, but he would walk along the edge of the pool, right? And on the shallow end of it. And Gavin would get in and start swimming, and Ray would grab at him and pull him underwater. Okay. And, Gavin would be like, Ray, you're drowning the dog, whatever. So Gavin learned to go underwater.
Whoa.
To avoid him and pop up on the other side. And it was bizarre. It truly was bizarre. And, but he would get in every day. We'd get back from the barn. He'd go run in, he'd get in the pool, do a little dip, go underwater to get away from Ray, and come back out.
I heard there are certain terriers that can't swim.
I've heard that too.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but I think they're heavier type, like they're like
like the Norwich. Yeah.
Or the Norwich, because that's a blockier body type. I mean, this is a
I guess they just sink.
Do you want to find out? We can call Sally Spinard.
She says that he doesn't swim.
Isn't that funny? Yeah. Gavin's a great swimmer. Always has been. So it's a dog I highly recommend.
That's so interesting. And what kind of health issues do they have typically?
I mean, kind of like, honestly, there was nothing that really stood out. There was nothing that was glaring that I saw. I personally, with him, like a lot of smaller dogs, and I think terrier breeds, he very early on in his life showed up with epilepsy. But other than that, I think they're kind of an easygoing dog with not a whole lot of health issues.
Wow, that's a great recommendation.
Yeah, they're good dogs. Very good dogs.
I'll put that on my list.
Well, the little terrier you have right now looks a little border terrier-esque.
She does, but she also looks Yorkie-esque.
Oh, does she?
She's border terrier with long. She's got the border terrier long legs, long body.
Right.
And then she's got these Yoda ears. And she has a tail that looks like a pug.
Oh my God. I can't wait to meet her. I just can't.
It's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm feeling good.
Welcome to Critter Nutrition, and we're going to talk about what the term natural means. Natural is on so many labels. It's all over in advertising of human products, canine products, equine products. And there is an assumption that we all make as consumers that natural means healthier, better for you, pesticide free, GMO free, minimally processed. Sadly, in reality, natural on a label does not mean any of that. Under federal labeling rules, the word natural means absolutely nothing. The FDA and the U.S. Department of Agriculture allow companies to use the term natural on labels as long as nothing artificial or synthetic has been added. I'm going to say this again. As long as nothing artificial or synthetic has been added. This is a non-regulated, rather broad definition. It allows vitamins made from coal tar and petroleum to be called natural. It allows companies to call MSM natural, even though it is made from petroleum byproducts and methane gas. Even highly processed food ingredients can be called natural. According to Michelle Simon, who is a public health lawyer based in California, this state of confusion is right where the food industry wants us. So it's to the food industry's advantage that we're confused, or that we're making the assumption that natural actually means that it's healthier for you. One of the cases that I like to bring up to relate this whole natural confusion is the case of high fructose corn syrup. It was condemned by consumers and physicians, and yet high fructose corn syrup was often labeled as natural. According to the Environmental Working Group, when the sugar industry complained to the FDA about high fructose corn syrup, the FDA defended high fructose corn syrup because it is derived from corn. Therefore, it is natural. However, although high fructose corn syrup started out as corn, the Corn Refiners Association explains, while the corn used to produce high fructose corn syrup may or may not have been produced using genetically enhanced corn, existing scientific literature and current testing results indicate that corn DNA cannot be detected in measurable amounts in high fructose corn syrup. So that means that after you take the corn, you refine it down, you use whatever processes to end up with high fructose corn syrup. When you test for DNA, there is no corn DNA in it. Which is so bizarre as I don't even have words for it. Let's look at natural flavorings as part of the whole natural phenomenon. There really isn't a significant difference between natural flavors and artificial flavors. In order to make highly processed foods or supplements that contain laboratory-created ingredients appealing, a whole flavor industry has emerged, and it has emerged from the fragrance industry because smell makes up 80 to 90% of the sense of taste. Flavorings increase sales by making mouth-watering tastes. In a 2011 interview with Morley Safer from 60 Minutes, two flavor scientists said that one of their goals was making food addictive. So they make it addictive by the flavoring. And when you taste something, it stimulates, receptors in your brain, just like it does with horses and dogs and cats. A natural flavoring, let's say natural apple flavor, is considered natural by the FDA if a chemical originally found in apples is a component of the flavoring ingredients. Both natural flavoring and artificial flavoring can contain over 100 or more ingredients, including solvents, preservatives, and flavor modifiers, that's one of my favorites, that often make up 80 to 90% of the mixture. Now, when it comes to an artificial flavoring, it must be comprised of one of 700 FDA-allowed flavoring chemicals, or any of the 2,000 other chemicals not directly regulated by the FDA, but sanctioned for use by the Flavor and Extract Manufacturers Association. Natural or artificial emulsifiers, solvents, and preservatives in flavor mixtures are called, get this, incidental additives and are not required to be disclosed on labels. These solvents can be ethanol and propylene glycol. So for me, when I see natural on a label, number one, it doesn't mean schnitz. Number two, I don't buy the product because it's a marketing term that has no meaning. And in fact, I run away from any company that puts natural on the label because I know that there can be a host of processed issues, solvent issues, extract issues, and other chemicals that they don't have to reveal in their processes. And so that for me is not natural. The kind of labels that you want to look for that give you a greater degree of certainty are going to be USDA certified organic. It's going to be certified GMO free. Those are standards that are so much higher than the FDA or USDA standards in terms of what quote unquote natural is. So if you're looking for something that doesn't have solvents, is GMO free, isn't grown with pesticides or herbicides that are considered toxic, USDA certified organic. And if you just want to go with GMO free, look for certified GMO free. So we're very happy to have Christian Muller-Ehrenberg joining us, who is from Germany, but he's here in Wellington, and he has got an amazing set of compression and ice therapy socks for horses and for dogs. And I have seen these in action myself, and I'm so excited to have Christian join us for our Coffee Clatch segment with Patty, of course, to talk about the importance of compression and ice therapy. So welcome, Christian.
Welcome, welcome.
Yes, thank you very much for the nice, warm words. I appreciate that, and I enjoy this conversation.
Hey, I heard that you are a vet.
That's right. I'm a vet. I'm also addicted with horses. I made an apprenticeship in horseback riding after school, so I really have the horse virus, and also know a little bit about the organism of a horse.
Cool.
I think that's great. I think that gives you so much credibility.
Yeah. Good word, Tiggs.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Christian, tell our listeners about compression and ice therapy. What are the benefits? Why is it better than just putting a cold gel pad on a horse's leg?
Yeah. I mean, all many good things are coming from the human world, and it's the same with the compression technique and the icing for horses. I mean, icing cooling has several benefits. When you cool the horse with real ice, you reduce the metabolic process, and also the enzyme activity is decreased, and that's why the inflammatory process will be inhibited. The swellings degenerate, and the bleeding tendency is declined. That's the reason for cooling. And compression, I mean, we all went to hospital maybe one of the days in former times, and sometimes we had to wear these thrombosis socks.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much the same idea behind this. Through a special fabric textile, we create pressure on the venous blood vessel system and also on the lymphatic system. And that's why the oxygen transport is increased, the blood circulation is increased, and that has many benefits. So you bring, as I said, oxygen to the areas which need help. You bring vitamins, you bring minerals, you bring nutrients to the area which are needed, and that's a benefit. And also you you flush out very fast waste products. For example, after work, lactic acid, for example, are flushed out much faster.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's really interesting. So who can benefit from these? What type of horses? What's your target market?
I would say any type of horse which has a problem. A horse which has a swollen leg, bow tendon, a torsion, inflammation, injury. And this is a common problem in the horse world, as we know. Every kind of horse, for sure, sports horse, of course, for sure, but also pleasure horse, whatever, you name it.
So is this something that would help with lactic acid buildup?
I mean, lactic acid you find mostly after heavy work in muscles,
right?
Muscle groups.
Yeah,
and
okay.
not so much in a leg. For muscle groups, I mean, there's also compression technique. We are talking here now about the socks, and the ice socks, and the suits, and the compression suit, so, which is really a whole suit for the horse. Looks very sexy, I have to say. Every time when I put it on a horse, everybody takes his camera and make a photo. It looks really funky. But so the main muscle groups are now under pressure, and that's what makes so good for the horse.
So is this something that I live in Houston, Texas, so in the summer it's really, really hot here. Can you use the suit in hot weather?
No, that's a good question, Patty. Yes, of course. I mean, the suit comes from Australia. A company named Heights. They are they invented this product. And in Australia, it's very hot as well. And it's a special fabric. It's a moisture management breathable fabric they invented. And they have also a horse in the pasture with carrying the suit, so they don't sweat under the suit. And it's breathable. It's breathable. And there was one very famous racing horse named Black Caviar. She traveled from Sydney to London, and there was a vet on board. He made a report. He measured the enzymes. He measured the muscle temperature, the body temperature, and he was really impressed. The horse only lost 8 kilograms of weight, no swollen legs, and the horse was very fit. Didn't lose so much energy, and he was very impressed about the fitness of the horse.
Christian, I have seen this ice compression sock, and it's really unique to the market, and we've never seen this in the U.S. And one of the many things that impresses me is its ability to cover hock or knee all the way down to the pastern.
That's cool.
And to describe this to everyone, it zips up the cannon bone. So, putting on a compression, if you didn't have a zipper, the grooms would hate you. Because that compression really can take a lot of physical getting it. It's it's sort of like getting on the old bell boots of our youth.
Tigger, you are absolutely right, Tigger. There's one sock on the German market. You have to put it like a bell boot over the hoof. And that is really a pain in the something. Yeah. So you're absolutely right. This compression sock, the normal compression sock and the compression ice sock, are absolutely unique because you have all the way from above the hock or the knee and below the pastern, you have compression, constant compression. And it's also very easy to handle. Yeah. As you said, with a zipper.
And it's really lightweight, Patty. I mean, it's feather light.
I am so excited about seeing this.
And what was really cool about the demonstration, because we took it to a barn, this groom had never used it before. She zipped it up, and Christian checked that the that it was the right size, because these compression ice socks come in different sizes depending on the size of the horse's, cannon bone and leg.
Right.
And then they poured the ice into it's like it has an envelope or a
neat.
sleeve that goes from one side of the zipper all around the horse's leg to the other side of the zipper. And it goes from the knee all the way down to the pastern, or to the hock all the way down to the pastern. And so you just pour the ice in there. And I watched this girl who had never used this sock before fill it with ice. The horse is standing there very comfortable, very happy. And you could move the ice around, so it's covering the whole leg except for the front where the zipper is. And
neat.
it was fast. It was didn't take a lot of time. And then when I went and looked at a typical normal ice boot, which is very short, which is very convenient, but what is better than being able to take care of literally the entire leg?
Well, the biggest issue with any of the gel things that are out there is some of them are,
They don't get cold enough.
But they don't have contact. They don't contact the skin.
Right.
And you end up making the area around the leg cold, but not the actual leg. I mean, that's a common thing, isn't it, Christian?
Yes, it's absolutely right. And the good thing is here, you don't have direct contact to the leg. That would be also not ideal. There is the fabric in between, but it's super cold and has a perfect benefit for the leg.
Yeah.
So you're not going to burn
exactly
the leg with too much cold, because you could technically do that.
Wow, this sounds really kind of like a hot item. I think this is going to really take off. This is just I can't wait to get my hands on them and see them myself.
And you know what? I think the applications for this, I'm thinking of the Lamanitic horse.
Oh, yeah.
And the foundering horse.
Yeah.
And the horse that after work, I remember Dr. Ober saying, every time you work your horse, bring him in and stick him in a bucket of ice, basically. Put his legs in ice. And I thought, wow, that's a lot
brutal.
of effort.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I see it very much on the jumper side. They are very, very into icing legs after the horse works. And of course, we know how popular Game Ready was at one time.
Sure.
But it became, really not practical.
Yeah, and it was cumbersome, and it was hard to get around, and you're doing horse after horse, and it's just like you're doing 14 horses a day. That was a hard thing to set up.
Yes, and it was a bag of ice per horse.
Yeah,
so
it's a lot.
Horses, and a bag of ice is $250.
Well, but also just where do you keep it? How do you store that? You know what I mean?
Right.
That so this is kind of a cool thing. Well, I am extremely interested and excited to see it in person.
And what I like here, see the suits.
What I really like here is a double benefit. You have the icing and the compression, and that makes it so special and so unique.
Awesome.
Christian, could you put if we had gel pads that we could heat in the microwave? Wouldn't it be possible to also use it for heat to draw out wounds or infection?
Well, that's a very good idea, Tiga. I don't see any problems there. That should be also working for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. Or if that would be very cool.
Yeah. I think that's so interesting. There it sounds like there's a lot of possibilities, not just the obvious ones that we've been talking about, that could be a real benefit.
And let me tell you, you can fold this up like a sock. That's how much space it takes up.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, cool. Well, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, so Patty will be seeing it officially next week. So
it's a date,
great.
Christian. It's a date.
It's a date. Oh my God! Oh,
you better come bearing gifts.
I have to get dressed.
Yeah, pretty much.
And bring a beer.
Or coffee.
At least one beer, at least.
At least. Well, great. I look forward to it.
Christian, thank you so much, and
Thank you.
I will see you tomorrow.
Any questions?
Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks to our sponsor, BiostarUS. You can find them online at biostarus.com.
Get the Horse Radio Network phone app or iOS or Android by searching for Horse Radio Network in the App Store. It's free and it's easy to use.
For details about today's show, go to healthycrittersradio.com, where you can find links, photos, and more information about our guests.
And as always, we love your feedback. Please follow us on Facebook under Healthy Critters Radio.
Be sure to visit all the great shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Hug your dog.
Love your horse.
Feed your chickens.
And clean the litter box.